Hey there everyone, it's CandyV here, and it's finally time for me to cover some more Easter eggs in the Pokemon games. The last video I did on this was over a year ago covering the Sinnoh games. If you've watched my other videos, then you'll know that Easter egg videos are by far my favorite to make. And we're in for a real treat today because I'm going to be taking a look at my top 10 favorite Easter eggs in Pokemon Sun and Moon. If you've watched the other videos in this series, then you'll know that the more recent Pokemon games have been a lot more adventurous when it comes to Easter eggs and references. And Sun and Moon is no exception. But with that said, let's get on with the list. First up, we've got a couple of hidden features that you can access by staying exactly where you are. They're not exactly connected, but I felt like they probably suited best as part of the same number. The first is that if you spin the circle pad enough times, your player character will start to do a pirouette. The second is that if you hold down on the touchscreen for long enough in Pokemon Refresh, your Pokemon will actually high-five you, which is so cool. For number 9, we have an NPC that states, "There's this dude near here that says he wants to make a whole theme park full of nothing but Pokemon restored from fossils." Which is of course a clear reference to the movie Jurassic Park, seeing as that movie did take place in Hawaii too. Number 8. This NPC in Howley City's mall states that there's no switch behind the poster. Pretty odd statement, but this is actually a reference to the way that you access Team Rocket's hideout in Generation 1. At number 7, we have something that happens right after trial number 6, but you have to be super fast to catch it. Did you see it? Yup, that's a sneaky little Mimikyu creeping in the background. Easter eggs that can be super difficult to spot are some of my favorites, and this is no exception. Next up, we have a meme that has made it into the Pokemon games not once, but twice. Early on in the game, before entering Professor Kukui's lab, he exclaims that his body is ready. Boy, they sure do love this reference, because it also made it into X and Y. If you don't already know, this is a famous line delivered by Nintendo of America's President Reggie at E3 during the demonstration of the Wii Fit.
Is do a what we call a body check on somebody. So today, I think we'll do it with Reggie. Hi.
My body is ready.
But why stop with Sun and Moon? I'd be willing to bet that it will make it into at least one more Pokemon game in the future. For number 5, we have an Easter egg in the very first clothing store, in Howley City. I didn't notice it at first, but when I read through the comments of that episode, someone had noticed that one of the outfits inside the store looked very familiar. Of course, it's the recognizable red and blue outfit worn by Nintendo's most loved plumber, Mario. Unfortunately, you can't actually buy this outfit, but even seeing it in store is still pretty cool. So number 4 is another one that someone pointed out to me during my Let's Play. In Howley Cemetery, there's a trainer named Pokemon breeder Ikue, who battles with a Pikachu, which is clearly a reference to the longtime voice actress for Pikachu, being Ikue Otani. When defeated, the trainer even exclaims, "Pika!" making this reference even more solid. Next up here, we have an Easter egg that ties into the anime. In Totem Mimikyu's room, a picture on one of the walls can just be made out to depict Ash and Pikachu. How this makes sense existing in the universe of the games is unclear, but it was likely put there as a nice little reference and to show Mimikyu's obsession with Pikachu, so I doubt it's something that we need to overthink. At number 2, we have one that I spotted myself when playing through the game. On Pony Island, there's an NPC who states, "We're going on a berry hunt. We're going to find a big one," which I immediately recognize as a reference to an extremely popular children's book. I don't really know if this is really as much of a thing in the States, but a lot of people in the UK had this book when they were little. I even had one too. It's called "We're Going on a Bear Hunt," and the phrase that's repeated throughout the whole book is, "We're going on a bear hunt, we're gonna find a big one." It shows a family who one day decide that they want to go out and find a bear, because that's what most families do. And when they find one, they somehow decide that it wasn't such a great idea after all, and run home. Anyway, seeing a reference to something so obscure from my childhood really was a nice touch, which is why it's so high up on the list. Number 1 is 7.8 out of 10, too much water. Shortly after the release of Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, the review that IGN came up with became somewhat of a meme. They gave it a score of 7.8 out of 10 and complained that the games had too much water, which seemed pretty silly considering they gave Ruby and Sapphire high scores of 9.5, when the region design is almost identical to that of the remakes. And thus, the 7.8 out of 10 too much water meme was born. This was a popular reference in the Pokemon community for well over a year after the game's release, and believe it or not, it actually made its way into Sun and Moon. When using the Pokefinder in a certain area and uploading a picture, one of the reviews that you might get contains this quote, "Well played, Pokemon." But that just about does it for my top 10 favorite Easter eggs in Pokemon Sun and Moon. If you want to share some of your favorites, then you can do it down in the comments below. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!